As the world recuperates from COVID-19, a strange new world order has begun to emerge. In Southeast Asia, China is opening new fronts to counter America's global hegemony. China has become the de facto ruler of the South China Sea after it built artificial islands and claimed more than 80% of it as Chinese naval territories. It is also openly planning to annex Taiwan. Meanwhile, its prodigal son North Korea lifted its self-imposed ban on testing nuclear weapons and intercontinental missiles. North Korea currently possesses between 30 to 40 nuclear warheads and can produce up to 6 warheads per year. It recently entered the superpower's hypersonic missiles race. The timing of North Korea's recent hypersonic missile test and announcement to activate its nuclear weapons program raises warranted suspicions that Beijing is indirectly flexing its muscles to achieve geopolitical goals by exploiting the dangerous crisis looming in Europe, where Russia is well on its way to invading Ukraine in response to NATO's relentless expansion eastwards closer to the Russian borders. In the upper echelons of power in America, there is increasing chatter that Biden is in the early stages of Alzheimer's and is not calling the shots. Hence, America is unable to formulate a decisive response to the ever-rising China-centric New World Order and Russia's bold mobilization in the Black Sea and Ukraine to draw new red lines. History tells us that such massive global changes that seem rather coordinated and under control are evidence of behind-the-doors secret deals that often remain classified permanently or up to at least 100 years. This begs the question, what are China, Russia, and the USA really up to? Welcome to World Econ News, your daily dose of economics and finance. If you are interested in topics influencing the world economies and global financial flows, this is the place for you. Watch till the end if you want to get the latest answers, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and hit the notification button to get the latest updates. Let's go. North Korea is one of the most militarized countries on Earth. It has one of the world's largest standing armies. However, most of its equipment has been described as old. Nevertheless, its one-party closed system is controlled by a complex, merciless regime that has an iron fist grip on the entire country and population. North Korea's economy, by all means, is just lame and non-existent. Any attempts to obtain real, authentic data are impossible. There are no economic nor financial reports available. Everything out there is speculation. The government controls everything. All national assets and natural resources are directed towards the army. The country heavily relies on aid from and trade with China. Historically, the 1,400 kilometers shared border between China and North Korea made the enforcement of any international sanctions on North Korea literally impossible. China is North Korea's most important trading partner, and perhaps the only one, too. China has helped sustain the regime of dictator Kim Jong-un and has opposed harsh international sanctions. Still, this and other punitive steps by China were always restrained. China may have backed UN resolutions, but it always withheld support until they were watered down. Chinese analysts believe that their country's policy is justified and merely aimed to prevent a humanitarian crisis similar to the famine in the 1990s that killed as many as 2.4 million North Koreans, and more importantly, fear of the collapse of the regime, which can lead to an all-out war with South Korea, where nearly 29,000 American soldiers are stationed in the demilitarized zone. They also cite the long historical ties and the Sino-North Korean Treaty of Friendship, Cooperation, and Mutual Assistance between the two countries. Part of this deal dictates mutual defense in case one country was attacked. However, it is void if one of the countries initiated an attack. North Korea has become a de facto nuclear power and a barrier that shields China from the heavy American presence in South Korea. There are no doubts among global security experts that China aided Pyongyang in achieving its nuclear abilities while strengthening the regime in order to achieve geopolitical stability along its borders with the Korean Peninsula, in addition to enforcing indirect nuclear deterrence to America's strong military presence right at its its doorstep. This new reality, along with China's strong grip and militarization of the South China Sea, imposes a new power formula in which the USA is no longer the enforcer of rules in the entire region. The US has lost all cards. Its only remaining stronghold is Taiwan, which China recently announced that it is well on its way to annexing via invasion if necessary. However, it is unlikely that China would undertake such a dangerous step without coordinating with the United States behind the scenes, in other words, sharing the cake. China and Russia have impeccable, excellent relations and trillions of dollars in trade, business, and energy deals. In 2020, Russia's main trade partner was China. The volume of export and import trade between the two countries reached nearly $104 billion. China was both Russia's leading import origin and export destination. In 2014, China and Russia signed a $400 billion gas supply deal. Other massive deals exist as well. Russia seems to be okay with North Korea's behavior and all of China's actions in the South China Sea, policy towards Taiwan, and support for North Korea's rise as a nuclear power. Meanwhile, China also seems to be okay with Russia's continuous occupation of Crimea and plans to invade and annex Donbass in Ukraine. In the past 22 years, Russia has not undertaken a single step to counter the rise of China, which stole its title as the world's #2 military superpower. China also shows a great deal of respect towards Russia's grip on most of Central Asia, increased meddling and military presence in South America, and provocative actions towards NATO and the European Union. Both China and Russia consider NATO an enemy entity, and vice versa. The conformist behavior and parallel actions in regards to geopolitical and economic interests, protection, and countering America by Russia and China represent a strong signal that both countries are in agreement regarding serious economic, geopolitical, and resources issues that affect many countries across Asia, Africa, Eastern Europe, and South America. They have created all the necessary circumstances and realities that force America to share the cake with them. The United States of America did everything imaginable in the past 22 years, not just to alienate dozens of countries, but also to create a massive global base of America haters. Its aggressive, direct and indirect military interventionist policies that it began to implement in 2001 in accordance with the neoconservatives' Project for a New American Century, with the invasion of Afghanistan, followed by Iraq, followed by nearly annihilating several Arab countries and Venezuela via proxies, and divide and conquer tactics are to blame. America went on a global rage and revenge episode after the 9/11 attacks. It showed no mercy. It treated 2 billion Muslims as terrorists. It even engaged in numerous war crimes. It literally bullied everyone, including its allies. During this time, Russia and China remained calm and implemented a simple strategy: step in where America is failing. However, this does not mean that America is not aware of its mistakes and the resulting consequences. China and Russia did create powerful alliances to counter America, but America is not expected to share the cake easily. Hence, it is safe to assume that there are behind-the-doors deals between the three superpowers. America is eyeing a prize: Iran. Not just because of its immense oil and gas wealth, but also because America wants to control the Strait of Hormuz, where ships carrying more than $1.5 billion worth of oil and gas pass through every day. In addition to this, Iran would present a barrier that separates its interests from Russian-controlled Central Asia and China-controlled Southeast Asia. The neoconservatives and neoliberals alike believe that invading Iran can help America protect its interests in oil and gas-rich Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates. America also considers these nations as strategic assets due to their immense influence on the rest of the Arab world, which spans most of the Middle East and North Africa all the way to the Atlantic Ocean. And of course, I don't have to explain that right in the middle of the Arab world lies the Suez Canal, which is the main global artery for commercial and military ships' passage. In conclusion, the world's superpowers, Russia, China, and America, are reaping what they sowed since the beginning of the new millennium. The world is becoming too crowded for one superpower dictating the entire size, scope, and shape of the world order. The issues of North Korea's nukes, China's annexation of the Black Sea and expected invasion of Taiwan, Russia's mobilization to invade Ukraine while literally annexing most of the Black Sea, and America's deafening, wordy rhetoric on all these issues, among others, and its publicly available plans to invade Iran, all point that the world is again being divided up between the superpowers, and thick red lines are being drawn. Would you like to learn more about what influences the world economies and global financial flows? Click on one of the videos that showed up on the left, or go to our channel to find other interesting topics.